So let's talk Lightbringer. Um, Overall, I was kind of interested by how it's sort of like there was nothing dramatically awful that happens. Now there was, but not not from I was gonna say from Darrow's perspective, but obviously there was. But it in the grand scheme of things, like in terms of the war, nothing went horribly wrong. We've made progress in this book. Um, yeah, there's going to be spoilers before I spoil anything, but we'll get to it when we get to it. So first of all, I was surprised that Lyria removed the parasite. I thought, like I'd said, I think in the other video that Lyria was sort of our sort of um, not power our normal person, our not superhero person, but she got this parasite that will turn her into a superhero like everyone else. But she immediately removes it. Um, they're like, yes, with great power comes great responsibility. You will probably lose your memories of your dead family. If she's like, oh, well, in that case, no, I don't want it. Oh, really? Yeah, no, I don't want it. Take it out. So they take it out, and Lyria just goes back to being normal, which I thought was such like a not whiplash, but such a U-turn. Um, yeah, interesting. So the Battle of Phobos, man, I'd forgotten about this. I found it very stressful and very anxiety inducing. I wasn't so much in the well, I was in the moment, but I wasn't feeling things. I wasn't all I was thinking about. I was just stressed. I was like, what is gonna happen? How is this gonna end up? Who's gonna live? Who's gonna die? How is this gonna turn? All shake out. Um, so that got me thinking about spoilers. Like, I think we live in a world today where spoilers are hated, utterly hated. I think probably it was the Game of Thrones television show that started this sort of hatred of. Actually, no. I think it goes back to the Half Blood Prince. Snape kills Dumbledore. That's that meme. And probably before that there, but it yeah we it's very much do not spoil people. If you are spoiled, then the experience is ruined, sort of thing. But much like me listening to Dark Age again and enjoying it just as much as the first time, if not more so, I think this Lightbringer I would also enjoy a lot more the second time around. Not a lot more, but I would enjoy it at least as much, maybe more so, just because the Battle of Phobos. I was it an amazing sequence? I don't really know. I was just stressed out the whole time. I was like, what? How is this going to end up? Like, is Pegasus Legion and the Republic fleet, is Virginia going to die? Are they all going to be wiped out? Like, how? What's going to happen? Like, Kavix got taken, so I'm like, he's not dead. We thought he was dead, but then he's not dead. He just had his back broken. He's just been captured, and then he gets. There was a prisoner swap with Vodum Cicero, so he didn't get killed, but there's still that anxiety. Speaking of Kavix comes back and Thraxa's there. This is the first time he's seen Thraxa since she went to war on Mercury, and since Daxo died. So I'm surprised we didn't get a scene um, where Kavax and Niobe they had presumed two of their children dead, and one of them has come back from the dead, and but that there was just no that scene just wasn't there. I mean, maybe it was just it wasn't time for it, but that was strange. And so I see Apollonius now. I'm just following my notes, so it's gonna be linear, chronological, but kind of all over the place. But I see Apollonius as sort of a nemesis with Darrow. So we had, yeah, it was in this book. Yeah, that's right. It was in this book that we had Darrow and Apollonius. They had a duel. Supposedly, it was supposed to be to the death, um, and Apollonius clearly won this duel. He sort of learned a way to defeat the Willow Way, which is what Darrow relied on as the last student of Arcos that gave him all his swordsmanship skills, and he was defeated. But um, jumping ahead to the end of Red God, I'd like to see sort of they win the war, they win the peace. The Republic, they live happily ever after. But wait, there's still Apollonius, and he wants to duel with Darrow. So Darrow says, you know what? Fine, we'll have our last dance, and then they can have their rematch, which Darrow will of course be triumphant. But I feel like that's sort of what Apollonius wants, is that one transcendent moment when he can sort of put all of himself that he's been building and working on for so long. Like others care about empire and glory and money, but Apollonius, it's all himself. How can he create himself to be his perfect self? Um, so I like the idea of him as sort of the nemesis to Darrow, and the final confrontation, or even the post-final confrontation, the final confrontation being between those two. So yeah, as soon as Darrow's like, Apollonius has this bite mark on his face. Well, that's strange. I was like, it's Severo. Of course, it's Severo. So I said previously that I'm like, Severo's gonna be brainwashed. He's gonna be evil. He's gonna be a sleeper agent, which so far at least doesn't seem to be the case. So that's probably my one critique: is why did the Jackal release Severo and sell him for money? Like, it seems like Severo is such a high value prisoner that there's no way they'd let him go. But I guess they just did. It seems to me like it really took me out of it, and it feels like the author just Deus Ex Machina. We need Severo with Darrow for this book. So how do we get him there? We've sort of written him into a corner by being with the Jackal. Well, the Jackal will just sell him, and then we'll be on Venus. So it took Darrow to realize this. He said that Severo's only the rats know where Severo is, and there's a bite mark on Apollonius's face. Oh no, I guess Severo's dead. I'm so sad. Nuke goes off. Huh? Who set that nuke off? It wasn't us. Who else could be? Like, it was clearly Severo. Of course it was Severo. I think because I was so stressed about Severo being like turned, that I didn't fully enjoy this, but I could see on a second, I was gonna say playthrough, a second read through, listen through, this would be such a great moment where it's like, of course Severo's been like living in the sewers and waging guerrilla warfare on Apollonius and the Venusian docks. Severo's great. So I think Severo, the one thing, Severo's sort of his depression and his mental illness. I don't know if mental illness is the right term for it, but if it is that, then the author does a great job of portraying that in Severo throughout this sort of book. Severo's character arc, all the stuff that he's gone through, and like it's understandable, the post traumatic stress and everything. His character and his actions and his personality and his demeanor is very understandable. But the sort of arc of him, Cassius, and Darrow, sort of growing back together, and Darrow becoming sort of more philosophical, and how in order to be rebuilt, you have to first be broken. And I think that was really well written. The character arc of our three boys. I guess two boys. Cassius didn't really have much of an arc. He sort of had found himself before this, and just I guess gained acceptance at the end. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So Cassius, Darrow, and Severo all getting back together and working together like the dream team, the boys. They're back 16 years later. The same terrors that terrorized the Institute are back again, and it just, I'll come back to it at the end of this, but it was just great to see those three. Like, you'd never think those three, or at least Cassius wouldn't join back with them, but he did. So I mean, speaking of Cassius' character arc, it wasn't so much in this book as it was in the entire 6-book series so far. From being the pompous little perfect boy to he's still Cassius. That's another thing. Like, he's at the end of this, like I said about Ephraim in the last video, um, Cassius is still Cassius. He didn't leave. Like his personality didn't change, but he changed. If that makes sense. It's just really good character writing. Um, so Diomedes joining them, I did not see that coming. I thought maybe Lysander would somehow end up joining with Darrow and or at least with Virginia against Atalantia. I did not see the whole Rim storyline progressing as it did. But yeah, we got Diomedes joining the good guys. So yeah, good character growth on the way to the Rim. I've spoken about that. So Lysander finding out about Atlas and everything, and sort of making this deal with Atlas. I think that is the inflection point in Lysander's character. Like so far, we've had his POV. We sort of have been on his side in a weird way, as he's a reformer. He wants to do the right thing. Cassius sort of raised him right over the past decade, but at this point when he decides, yeah, yes, Atlas, okay, we will commit mass genocide and many war crimes in the end, towards the end of defeating Atalantia and Lysander gaining the morning chair. But yeah, to me that's the inflection point where, okay, Lysander's a bad guy now. And there are moments later on in this book where he could have redeemed himself, and it could have just been a sort of a slip up along the way, but that was not the case, and he just kept going down that path. And yeah, he's now sort of not enemy number one. That's still Atalantia, but he's enemy number two. If that makes sense, if that's even a thing. So there's the Daughters of Athena. What did I say? Serving their purpose. They took a bit to join Darrow, but it wasn't ever really in doubt, and it was a way to get Diomedes on side. So yeah, sort of not a Deus Ex Machina, but the fact that old introvert, what's his name? Not Galerastes, Regulus Quicksilver, him creating the generational ship to shoot off. He didn't have fleets, he built a generational ship. He's going to go out and perpetuate a colorless society in another solar system. Fantastic. Good for him. But he doesn't have ships. So Darrow needs ships. Where's he going to get ships? Oh, well, surprise, there's these people called the Daughters of Athena, and they have a whole bunch of ships. So it's obvious that Darrow's going to get them. It's just the how. And I think they do a good job of it. Like, it wasn't ever really in doubt, but they are like, hey, you gave up the Sons of Ares to the Rim and like had them murdered. Like, we do not like you, Darrow. We do like Severo because he's the son of Ares. That one scene where Severo gets a message from his dead father, like years after his, like, it's been like 10 years since his father died, and like 25 years, whatever, since this message had been written, maybe 30 years since the message had been recorded. So it felt kind of strange that there was like this message to Severo that he didn't know about. So it does kind of feel like the Daughters of Ares came, or the Daughters of, yeah, Ares, Athena, whatever, came from nowhere, but whatever. You've got there the ships you need. You've got Diomedes on side. So Diomedes he's the hegemon now of the Rim Dominion, which, what's the difference between a sovereign, a dictator, and a hegemon? And then there was the two consuls, Helios and Dido. So it seems like just multiple titles for the same thing, but I guess that's like king, emperor, president, what's the difference, sort of thing. But anyway, so it seems like Diomedes, the Rim and the Republic aren't going to merge. There's not going to be an overall rising. They're going to be two separate states, with Virginia, at least for now, as sovereign of the Republic, and Diomedes as hegemon of the Rim Dominion. But with the intent of dismantling the hierarchy, probably a longer time frame than in the Republic, where they've declared basically civil war on the society. The Rim Dominion they broke off 10 years previously, and they've had their independence. So they are not going into civil war. They are just on the path towards becoming what the Republic is. Um, Anyways, that doesn't really matter. Um, I have a note here, Volga, still naive and gullible. I don't really know what to say about that. I mean, she was. Um, she believed Fa. She sort of was on the way to becoming a bad guy before Lyria turned her around. Lyria didn't even really turn her around. It was just the reveal that, hey, Fa's been lying to you this whole time, that turned her around. Um, it was nice that the Volk didn't immediately, oh my word, it's Tyr Mordecai. Let's switch back to his side. We hate this Fa guy. They did hate the Fa. They did hate Fa, but they weren't just like, oh wow, he's back. Let's join the Republic again. It was it was an ordeal, for Darrow to get them on side, and he never did get them on side. They are still following their new queen, Volga. Um, their goals align with Darrow. However, how long that's gonna last, if their goals are just to retake Mars so that the Obsidian have Sumeria or whatever continent they claimed in the mines, and then they're not going to help with the sort of um, liberation of Luna, Earth, Mercury, and Venus, but one step at a time. Oh yes, the we'll get to the hunts, but when they brought the Leviathan up, and they kept talking about the Reds chopping it up, I wasn't really thinking much about it, but he kept going back to it, and then when he talks about them splitting the stomach open and like bits of armor and bits of people coming out of it, I'm immediately I'm like, oh, okay. I think it was Severo in his little tune he was singing back in Golden Sun, or maybe Morning Star. Um, I knew, I'm like, they're in the stomach of the dead Leviathan, because of course they are, because Severo said the first, I've got a plan. It's a classic. You're gonna hate it. So it's the dead horses all over again, but this time in a Leviathan. And knowing that, as soon as I knew that, I really paid attention, and they kept going back to the Leviathan and the Reds cutting it up, and it was just, you knew it was coming, and it was fantastic and disgusting. Um, and then Fa and Darrow challenge each other. Darrow gets, at the end of one chapter, Darrow gets sort of impaled by one of the spikes, and he can feel the poison working its way through him, and it's like, haha, you're now dead. The rest is just theatrics. But again, I'm like, okay, he's not dead, because Darrow specifically had these like spikes that had paralyzed Diomedes analyzed. So I'm like, he's got an antitoxin in him. So of course he does. So that whole fight scene was really cool, and I think it would be really neat to see it visualized, where sort of, what does he call it? The breath of stone or whatever, when Darrow's fighting Fa, and he starts with the will away and sort of falls back on that, but then he sort of adopts this new form, sort of almost out of nowhere. And I can just imagine the slow motion, the cutting to scenes of the mine of him as a child, of Io dancing, and cutting back to the fight, and it was really well written too. So yeah, it was cool. He dual wields now a Hasta and a Razor. Does he do that all the time? I don't know. What do I have here? I thought Lyria was going to die by Volga. Yeah, I did think Lyria was going to die by Volga's hand, literally her hand ripping her heart out, because Volga was going right down the line, which is interesting. I don't know if they ever talk about the path of stains or whatever they call it, how an obsidian becomes stained. But I guess they have to kill every member of the hierarchy, every color, which is including a gold, which is very interesting. And of course, Volga did all of that except for the red. She did not kill Lyria at the last moment. But I did think Lyria was going to die. I said I'm waiting for the big because I wrote this before I'd finished, so I said, I'm waiting for the big heartbreak moment at the end, which, knowing Pierce Brown, I'm expecting something gut wrenching to happen. And I said, I hope it's not Darrow or Severo. Notice those are the two I hoped. Um, and I said, it could be Cassius, as he has no one or nothing to lose. But that's why I think he could make it out of this whole series alive as a witness whose life isn't worth as much as those he's outlived. And by his life not being worth as much, I mean him not having the connections, not having the wife, the children, the friends, the like he lost Lysander. That's all he, and Pytha. Those were all he had. So to me, Cassius was the expendable one, the one with the least to lose, and the one that death caused the least major impact in the overall story. And because of that fact, I did not believe he was going to die. I thought, okay, because it's obvious that he's going to die, he's not going to die. Although, getting to the part when Darrow basically stabs Cassius to death with red flags. Sorry, not red flags, death flags. Just like, oh, you're my brother. You've always been my brother. Oh, I've missed you so much. We're like, you're my true brother. You've always been this whole time. Blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, Darrow. Like, just cut his head off yourself at this point. So yeah, Cassius did die. And it was tragic. It was sad. But, like, really, if anyone had to die, Cassius is the expendable one. Like, I can't imagine if Severo died, it would be so much worse. Like, and if Darrow died equally, I can't think of anyone else. I guess it goes Darrow, Severo, then Cassius. I'm trying to think if anyone else would be in. I guess Virginia would be. If Virginia died, she would be probably below Severo, but definitely above Cassius. Anyways. So the hunt was great, yes, when it was clear that Darrow had defeated Fa, and the Obsidian and even the Ascamani were not having this Gorgon nonsense. And he's chasing him island to island, banging his weapons together, trying to get Fa to confess. Like, that would be a really cool scene to see, and all the Obsidians flocking behind, and yeah, it was great. It was sort of the big win for Darrow. I don't think we've had one in the past few books. We did. I think it was Dark Age, but halfway through when Thraxa brings in all the banners, throws them down, and claims victory. It was sort of that moment where like Darrow's won, like, because of course he did, because he's amazing. And I did love the bit of dramatic irony when Lysander's going along with Atlas's plan, but he doesn't realize that Fa's dead at this point, and the plan's like totally gone. So that was really interesting. So the fight with Atlas, very cool. Even though we mostly got the sort of Lysander, Roan, T. Flavinius. We sort of got that perspective, and just like how difficult it was for Lysander to kill this Grey, even though he was like the best Grey apparently, aside from the Nakamura twins. But it was neat to see that, like, just that struggle just to beat this Grey, and then to look, and Atlas would be so much harder to defeat one-on-one. And Cassius did it with his left hand because his right hand got chopped off and he's been stabbed. But of course, Cassius, the morning knight of the Republic. Yeah, it was amazing. I kind of wish it would have been like recorded or something, but there was a jam field up, so I wish it would like get out into the worlds, this like fight, the morning knight versus the fear knight of the society. Yeah, it was cool. And I was surprised Cassius died, just because he was the one most likely to die. And I was surprised that Lysander's... I thought this was Lysander's sort of redemption, like, okay, Cassius, let's defeat Atlas and cut my puppet strings. But no, it was sort of a double bluff. He betrayed Atlas, and then betrayed Cassius and killed Cassius, which was awful. But yeah, this cements Lysander as a bad guy. And in contrast, we have Diomedes, who's sort of so honorable that he's become a good guy at this point. He's admitted, like, Gold's failed. We've failed. We had the compact, and we didn't keep up our end of the bargain. So we got to find a new way. Like, I did not expect that of Ra or of anyone from the Rim, but yeah, that's happening. What else happened? How did it end? I guess I can talk about what I think's coming next for Red God. Before I'm sure there's other stuff I've forgotten, but I could talk for like 2 hours. So Red God, what it has to be, it has to start. The first part has to be Virginia perspective, back on Mars. They have no idea what's going on in the Rim. They have no idea where Darrow is. Like, Virginia knows that she sent Darrow off to get Quicksilver. Oh, and they did get the message back that Darrow's like, hey, Quicksilver doesn't have any ships. He's leaving the solar system. But there's this, like, Daughters of Athena. Severo and I are going to check it out. See ya. That's the last she heard. But, like, the greater populace, they still haven't heard from the Reaper since the fall of Mercury. But they still, his cult is growing. The cult of the Red God. Like, they probably believe he's dead or that he can't die, and that he's sort of, like I said, the apotheosis. He's become more than even the legend. Like, the legend's just grown so much, and they just sort of believe him to be some sort of messiah who will come back at some point and save them, and which is exactly what's going to happen. But the fact that I just want that first part of Red God just to be everything's going awful on Mars, but Virginia, because she's amazing, she's holding it together. She's holding the planet together. They're all just holding out hope for Darrow summoning the Reaper coming in from the void of space with an armada to save them. And it seems like a ridiculous belief, but the Reds are holding on for that. And then once that first part of the book's done, and maybe Lysander shows back up, and it seems like things are going rough, that's when it happens. I mean, no one's seen Severo since Luna, no one's seen Darrow since Mercury, and no one knows where they are, and no one even knows they're alive, and they show up at the head of an armada. The fleet, the Volk fleet, the Daughters of Athena fleet, the Pandora. It's not just Severo. It's the Reaper and the Goblin of Mars back together to save the day. And I can't wait for that moment. And we have to have that moment of them showing up and the populace just losing their minds. Like, all the belief and all the hope for months, I guess, maybe over a year, that they've been waiting for this moment. And it comes true. He shows up and saves the day. And I'm sure it won't be easy. And I'm sure we'll lose more, but I think they hinted at or directly said something to this effect at the end of Lightbringer, is that, and Darrow said this in a speech, is that the core golds, the society, they cannot afford to trust each other, but the Republic can't afford not to trust each other. So yeah, we have the Republic and the Rim Dominion allied with them. Maybe we'll have the Shadow Armada show up at some point. Shadow Armada? Shadow Fleet? Or the Dust Fleet? Or Dust... Maybe it was Armada. Anyways, maybe they'll show up and sort of bolster the ranks. But yeah, they get the Volk fleet. They get the Republic fleet that's on Mars. They've got the Daughters of Athena fleet. The Shadow Armada and whatever fleets from Neptune, Uranus, Pluto, whatever else the Rim can throw together. Presumably the Rim won't throw all of its resources into this war, but they did sign a treaty, like an alliance, and Diomedes said he's going to be at this rendezvous point, which is interesting because the last time he said that to someone, he said it to Lysander, and during the Battle of Phobos. Um, yeah, it's gonna be strange. The Rim coming back. The Rim destroyed Phobos, or captured it for the society left, and are not going to come back on the other side. But it seems like, yeah, they've got such a great force, and they're against the fleets of Lysander, which his fleet's sort of like a cobbled together fleet. He's got like the Bellona fleet, which, how does the Bellona even have a fleet? They haven't had Mars for like 10 years. Um, the Bellona fleet, the Vodum fleet, but in getting those fleets, he's taking them away from Atalantia. So like, in Atalantia and the core golds of the society have been pushed back to only Venus at one point. So like, how big, powerful can their fleets be? Um, I guess they have the Lightbringer. Yeah, it's called the Lightbringer, not the Morning Star. Which, interestingly, Lightbringer and Morning Star are kind of the same name. They're both names for Lucifer, the Roman, well, the morning star, the first star you see in the morning, which is actually the planet Venus. The Romans called they called it Lucifer, meaning the morning star, but Lucifer directly translates in Latin to Lightbringer. So Lightbringer and Morning Star are kind of the same thing. And it just an interesting little thing. Um, but yeah, Darrow has to get that ship back, right? He has to do his. What did he do? Not an iron rain, an iron sideways rain. Whatever he did that one time when he smashed through the bridge. I think it was the Morning Star that he took when he did that, wasn't it? He smashed through the bridge and took control of it. So I'd like to see him get his ship back. I'm sure Lysander and Atalantia are going to. I'm not sure who will die first. Maybe it will be No, I think Lysander will have Lysander perspective of him sort of taking down Atalantia, and taking her forces into his own, and sort of, maybe, I mean, we have the whole thing on the moon with the jackal. Maybe he will take Luna back and ascend to the morning chair while Mars is still under siege, and defeat Atalantia and unite the society in for one big final push to smash the Republic at Mars. But I mean, he can't win in the end. We've lost Cassius. Now, I would like to see Severo grow old with his family and retire to peace and raise his children. And I'd like to see Darrow do the same with his. But it seems even now like their children are being raised for war. So will there be a future war with maybe the Rim in 10 years when the treaty, is it like a third series? I don't think he's writing anymore in this. But yeah, I would like to see Darrow and Severo and Virginia. I think those three are the only ones that I would really like to sort of live out the series. And Victra, of course. But it wouldn't surprise me that they all die, especially Darrow. Maybe Virginia lives because they need a sort of a leader, a sovereign, even though the position's supposed to be democratically elected. Maybe it's in perpetuity. Democratic, I don't know. Anyways, yeah, I really look forward to the final volume. The quality does not decrease from Red Rising. If anything, Red Rising is not the weakest, but it's such a different book. The sort of the scope of everything is so small. But from then onwards, it doesn't decline in quality in any sense. It's just steady. Dark Age was amazing. I love Dark Age. Lightbringer to me I might not rate as highly as Dark Age, as subjective and arbitrary as that is, just because it did seem to go so well. But maybe that's not true. Maybe if I listen to Lightbringer again, because there were some great moments. The Battle of Phobos, Darrow finding Darrow going to save Severo on the Venus Stockyards and being saved by Severo on the Venus Stockyards. I should just finish this by I love the like, if this was a television show or a series or whatever, this is how this sort of season would have to end. The same way I think the book ended was them going onto the Archimedes and going into Cassius's room and seeing on his holoprojector what he was watching last, and what it was Cassius, Darrow, and Severo in the institute together, and you could show that that Severo sitting down with Darrow to watch this, and then cut to scenes from, I think it was Morning Star, when Cassius was a prisoner of Darrow's on the Morning Star, and he brought Cassius into his room, and they watched this. Cassius and Darrow both sat together and watched them in the Institute as children, and then cut back to them, Severo and Darrow, watching it. Watching the three of them, knowing that Cassius is no longer with them. And then as you're filming that, sort of have it in a way so that the footage they're watching becomes sort of the main thing, and then just play scenes of the institute while you play the outro music or whatever. Yeah, it was a beautiful ending, that visual of them sitting down, mourning Cassius, mourning their brother, even though he was their enemy for over a decade. Just seeing where they all started from. Yeah, so that was Lightbringer. I mean, what else can I say?